Hey guys, no intro song today. I hurt myself. Before I get into how I hurt myself, my plan going forward, and how some things you can do to rehabilitate and as well as prevent things like this from happening, go and click that like, subscribe, and bell notification icon so you know when I come out with new stuff. Additionally, leave a comment down below if you've ever been hurt. How did you work around it with guitar? Let's go ahead and get into it. So, how I hurt myself, this is really kind of sad, is relearning how to sweep pick. I've been pretty upfront, said that this particular arm has had a couple surgeries on it, and I haven't been able to play, or wasn't able to play for a few years. That being said, I am back in the saddle, as it were, playing again. And one of the things I'm doing is relearning how to sweep pick. There's a lot of nuance with sweep picking properly, such as not just the motion and getting the syncopation between your right and left hand down, but also the muting technique. So I was working on one from a very popular solo that I just really like. It's a very small one. And I noticed, oh, there was a little bit of pain there, right here in my wrist. This is one of the areas that was out of place for almost 2 years and just recently got fixed. So I'm like, well, it could just be because I'm practicing on an acoustic, which is something I like to do with everything from time to time, just because it's harder to play and it'll really help break down your technique and show you what you're doing wrong. But also, it's fatter. So I think that all that combined really kind of hurt my wrist a little bit. So I'm going to take 2 days off, reevaluate where I am playing guitar after that. That being said, I'm still going to be playing guitar just with my left hand. So, I've devised 3 things that I can continue to do with my left hand that will keep me playing guitar and let this heal. Actually, these are all going to be played on an electric guitar because it's easier for me to let you hear what I'm doing. Alright, so what are some things you can do when you're hurt that you can only do with your left hand without having to use your right one for picking? Well, I am going to use my right one to be turning the volume up and down. The first thing you can do is you can continue to practice shaping chords. So if you're working on getting certain chord shapes down with that left hand, you can still practice that and still bounce them. That's an easy one. Should be fairly intuitive. You don't necessarily have to hear it, but if you have to, you can still do it. Get it set up and still hear it. The key with that, though, is really getting your fingers in the right place. So there's thing number 1. Second thing you can do, thing number 2, and the first 2 really don't require any, actually none of these require any volumes. You can do these on acoustic. Practice your scales. Additionally, while you're doing that, if you're using something like an electric and you're practicing basically what is legato and what it will be needed for hammer-ons and pull-offs, which I'll probably do a video on very soon, since I have to be practicing those anyways. And that doesn't mean that you can just practice them up here. You can practice down here too. Right? And it'll let you know when you're having a little issue. I think part of that is the fact that I don't have my arm here holding it, so my neck's kind of flopping around a little bit, but you can still do that. Third thing you can continue to do, or third thing if you're in Europe, you can practice triads and arpeggios. You can just think about them. So let's just stick into the C major, or A minor, whatever you want to call it, scale, right? And let's build a E triad in there. So we have our E. Let's not use this one. Let's use the one on the A string, which is right there on the 7th fret. So there's our E. Skip F, go to G. There's a G. You could also do the next open string, but since I'm not using this hand, it's easier to do it on the 5th fret of that D string. And then, well, from G, skip A, go to B. There's one right there. So that right there is a E minor chord. It's minor because the distance between the root and the 3rd is 3 semitones. So there you go. But we can also make that into an arpeggio simply by going simply by adding that next E and B. So you have, and that could also be incorporated when we go to sweep pick. I think that when we start working on more advanced sweep picking, going up into 4 and 5 strings, we'll throw that one in there just because it's a easy one to do with your left hand, and we'll really work on that up and down motion with the right hand. So there's 3 things you can do. You can also just run through the triads in your hand. Okay, well I did that one, so let's start on B. So I have B, C, D, F, B, D, F. There's a B. And by the way, that would be a B minor, right? So you can go and do that kind of mental work as well. Let's look at some things you can do to recuperate and or prevent. The number one thing that you can do when you're injured is give it time, give it a break, let it rest, let yourself heal, okay? If it's really bad, obviously you go see the doctor, things of that nature. This is very minor. It might have been just because of the weird angle I had to hold my arm at to play that sweep on an acoustic. That could be all it is. I've also, as I said, had multiple injuries and surgeries on this arm and up to include this wrist. So it could just be one of those things related to that. So I'm going to take 2 days off, do a lot of those mental exercises, and come back in 2 days and see if it's any better. So that's what I'm going to do to recuperate. Prevention, on the other hand. If it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for the surgeries, I don't think this would have been an issue. But here are some things that I do every time I play guitar just to keep myself from getting hurt. These are stretches. That's all it is. So the first thing I will do is I will take off, sorry babe, I take off my wedding ring because I don't want it interfering with the fleshy part of my skin here as I'm doing some of these stretches. First thing I always do, I just give my hands a good shake out, okay? And then kind of just give them each a little quick massage, if you will, all the way up and down the fingers, every finger, every fleshy portion that I have on my hand, up to include the top of the hand. Do this on both of these just to get the blood flowing and get them ready to go, right? Some people like to sit there and work on the arm a lot. I don't typically do that, especially with the right arm, because there's still a lot of muscle that needs to regrow there. But, you know, if it does feel tight, I'll work on it. Next thing you do, some kind of individual finger stretches. I know some people will do this thing where they hold them back and they do like little waves. I find that if I just give them a good stretch and then just try to close a little bit my hand on each finger, and I'll do this typically for about 10 to 15 seconds for each finger. That's more than enough. Then I'll just pull them back this way. Again, same amount of time. And I do this on each hand. As you notice, I'm doing this on my right hand, not my left yet. I typically do work on the right hand first and then go to the left, so the left is nice and stretched out by the time I'm ready to play guitar. So I will do all those stretches. And then I'll even do some ones where I put my arm on a table and I just try moving just my wrist this way, and I'll even give it just a little bit extra with my hand. Nothing that would cause pain and nothing that's, you know, gonna break anything. Just light to get it a little farther past what my muscles will do. And then up and down as far as I can. So that's it. Do the same thing to this side. Once I'm done with that, the next thing I will do, I'll just shake it out. Shake it out whenever you feel you need to. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with shaking that out. The next thing I do is I work on both wrists. And I do these at the same time. I will do rotations one way. I'll do that for a good 20-30 seconds. Then I will go the other way for a good 20 to 30 seconds. I don't count how many times I do it here. I do try to keep them syncopated because I just always do with both hands. And once that's done, cool. Then it's on to getting my wrists, especially with this one, you're gonna see really my limited mobility here, is I will do basically a little prayer thing where I'll put my hands like this and I'll start to bring them down and start to raise my arms and bring just the hands down. That's about as far as I can go, mostly because of this hand. This hand can go down much farther. This one, it's stuck about right there. I just have, 80-90% mobility in that wrist. So that's the thing. After that, other way. And that's about, just kind of put them together and then raise them up as far as I can. That's about it. Again, because of that right wrist, that's about as far down as that'll go. But I will hold it there for a while. This is actually improved over what it used to be. It used to be down here. Now I'm getting it up to here. That's not too bad. But I do feel that tension right there. And that's where you want to stop. Feel that tension, stop. Now, lastly, I will give all my fingers a good stretch this way. Okay? And I'm going to show you on the left hand, because that's where people want to get that stretch the most. So when stretching the fingers of your left hand, there are multiple different ways to do it. All that I would say is when you do it, don't force it too much. Be safe. Do it in a controlled manner. And never go far enough to where it causes pain. Okay? Uncomfortableness, yeah, it's not comfortable to stretch. It shouldn't be. Not if you're getting a good stretch. But it should never, ever cause pain. The slightest sign of pain, back it off a little bit. So the way that I personally do it is with the guitar. I do it with my guitar on. This is the last step. I'll do it to this hand too, but then I'll come over to this one. And what I will do is I will take my fingers and place them back behind the guitar, right? And let that guitar be my anchor for my stretch. If this is too easy, as I am able to touch the flesh back there to the very back of the thing, move it up. Your fretboard will typically get wider as it gets up here. So as you move it up, that stretch becomes more drastic. All right. Now I'll do it for these two fingers, which do not separate nearly as far. There is a good 2 centimeters back there of space between the U portion of my fleshy part and the back of the neck. And then with these two fingers, right? That's one way to do it. The next thing I will do, once I am done with that, so I will stretch 2 more. I will stretch between these two fingers, right? And this one you kind of got to use your hands for, to get them to separate a little more. And then these two, which are much, much tighter and don't go nearly as far. Again, nothing that will cause pain. The farther in towards the base of your hand you can get, the better. The more fingers you can use on each side, the better. Mostly because you don't want to have just one point of contact, because if you're just doing this, now you're stretching here at this knuckle instead of stretching back here, which is where you want that stretch to go. That's why I say go far closer to the hand. And that's it. Doing those things will not only improve your finger dexterity and your ability to stretch farther, it will also help prevent injury. Is it going to prevent all of them? No. I'm hurt right now, and I do this every day I practice. Typically before I practice, when I'm just watching something random, that's when I'll stretch, and then I'll go practice. That being said, things happen. You're still going to get hurt, but you get hurt less when you take these steps. So that's it, guys. Don't forget to click that like, subscribe, and bell icon. Enjoy your adventure, and I'll see you in Guitarland.